Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Holistic Ease podcast. I have kind of a fun episode for you today. I hope that you are going to enjoy. And that is that we are going to be talking about aromatic aphrodisiacs. As of the recording of this podcast, we are moving closer and closer to Valentine's Day. And whether or not you love Valentine's Day or you hate it, one thing is for sure, and that is that sometimes it is really fun to just focus on romantic love and attraction. It is part of being human, it's part of our holistic wellness to be in touch with our sexuality and our sensuality. And why not just choose this time of year to focus on that? Because if nothing else, a lot of us start to feel the doldrums of winter that gets really long, and it's nice to have a little bit of a distraction for some of us from that. The other thing that I think is helpful about focusing on aphrodisiacs this time of year is that a lot of us are struggling with that seasonal depression and we're already feeling just low, which means that very often our sense of desire, our libido, is going to then go down in response to that. So when we can support our body with good nutrition, with good sleep, stress management, all of those things help. But I really find with the aromatics, there's a very natural tie into attraction and romantic love, and that is because there is already one. We give each other flowers, we give each other chocolates, there are certain foods that we like to enjoy in a romantic setting. For better or for worse, that is an association that as humans we have had for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So this means that our brains are actually programmed to associate certain scents with certain activities, if you will, certain emotional states. Today, I want to just share with you some of the ones that, both through research that's actually been done, as well as my own personal experience, not just as an aromatherapist, but just in my relationship, that these are some of the smells that really help to enhance that romantic connection and that romantic experience, especially when you're maybe just not feeling it, right? So, along with this, I want to point you also to the podcast after this, which is going to be a very special Valentine's Day edition coming out on Sunday, February 14th. And this is going to be a podcast with me and my husband, Lord William, about our relationship and certain things that we feel have really helped us to have a long-term connection. We've actually been together since I was 14. Believe it or not, and I'm 41. So there you go. Longevity. What does it take? What does real connection actually take? So look forward to that episode after this. But this one is purely the proverbial cherry on top. Some things that I think and I trust are going to help you to enjoy your romantic connection or that experience a little bit better. Because if nothing else, it is all about being able to be in the moment, in that sensuality. And the easier we can make that on ourselves, a lot of times the better, or it's just for fun. It's just more fun. So there's a couple of different families of aromatics, of essential oils that we are going to tend to think of when we think of aphrodisiacs, but then there's some others that you may not think about. So I'm going to kind of just run through all of these, and I'm going to group them a little bit in families and tell you some of the things I like about them, some of the things to know about them. But if you're curious about knowing more about how to use these essential oils, especially how to blend them and how to use them safely, I'm going to be putting links in my show notes to my introductory courses on essential oils. One is basically an Essential Oil 101 class, the very simple basics, the top 6 essential oils that I recommend, and how to use them. Within that, you're going to get a lot of background information on what essential oils are, what aromatics are, what they do in the body, and how to safely use them. The second course is a mini course, super quick. It's 40 minutes, and it teaches you how to intuitively blend and safely blend essential oils by first understanding what family they come from and how those different families work together. So be looking for those links in the show notes. Definitely some things I would recommend for you to check out, maybe even to ask as a Valentine's present if that's something that you're looking for. So let's get into our aphrodisiac essential oils and aromatics. Very first on the list that I always think of is our citrus essential oils. Now there's a wide range of citrus, right? So citrus can go anywhere from like grapefruit, which to me is not necessarily very aphrodisiac, all the way to bergamot. Now, bergamot is an essential oil that I definitely would say is more on the aphrodisiacs end of the spectrum. So in addition to that regular bright effervescent, sort of zesty citrus smell. You also get this real sensual, soft note that's in there. If you've ever drank Earl Grey tea, this is the scent that is in Earl Grey tea. It is one of my very favorite scents. To me, it conveys elegance, sensuality, maybe even luxury. So definitely a great one to have in your blends. Think to know about bergamot. Sidebar, this is very reactive in the sun on your skin. You don't want to put bergamot onto your skin and go out in the sun or to a tanning bed. You will end up burning, and it's not very fun. Okay, so that is actually the main citrus that I would recommend for aphrodisiacs, because it's just kind of a one and done citrus. And once you get familiar with bergamot, you're going to know how also to blend it with a lot of the other oils that I'm going to be talking about today, as well as the gourmands. And that's where the magic really starts to happen. So our next group is florals, especially what we would call our sensual florals. So in this group, obviously we're going to have rose. And what are we usually giving as Valentine's flowers this time of year? Very often rose. But there's other options here as well. And especially if you're not a rose lover, that doesn't mean that you can't use essential florals. So one of the ones that has actually been researched for its ability as an aphrodisiac is ylang ylang. This is it means flowers is what ylang ylang means. It is a tropical flower, and it is known to be a euphoric, which means that it really helps us to get into that state of bliss and to occupy that sense of bliss. It is gorgeous. It is very exotic. But what's really great about ylang ylang is you get that exotic floral without the heavy price tag that comes with so many of the other florals. Another one that I would put in here is jasmine, and there's day blooming jasmine and night blooming jasmine. Again, these are more of a tropical sort of floral. This one is a very, I feel it as a heart note, but also a very high, heady sort of scent. It has a lot of heart in it, but it also has a lot of sense of space and air. If you want to add some elements in here to understand the scent, it is very sweet, and you need like one drop of this in any kind of a blend to get what you want out of it. It's interesting. Jasmine was known for a lot of women's health purposes throughout the years, but it's used in childbirth. And so I think that there is a connection there between female anatomy, female functioning, and this flower. It's really intriguing. I've actually put it into blends for clients for their births, and they've had a really good experience with that. And so then we have one other sort of unexpected member of this family, and it's not really a essential floral. This is more of an herbal floral, and that is sweet fennel. So sweet fennel is going to be one that you're going to go to if you love black licorice or you love anise as the spice. That's basically what it smells like. Why I like this particular essential oil as a help for aphrodisiac or for desire, or for libido, is that it is known to be very modulating for especially female hormones. This is good if you're dealing with irritability, if you're feeling disconnected from yourself and your body. It is just going to help to ground your hormones a little bit and to help to ground your moods. So those are our essential florals. There's many more. Neroli would be another really amazing option from this family of essential oils. The next group is not really essential oils. These are going to be what are called absolutes. So essential oils are obtained through distillation. Absolutes are obtained from the plants via other means, sometimes through sort of just different chemical extraction methods, and sometimes through other methods. And to be honest, I'm not a huge expert in this area in terms of how to make an absolute, because it's not something that I do, but I do have training in natural perfumery, and that is where we use our absolutes and our extracts, is in natural perfumery. So there are a whole ton of really fun things to play with here. And again, if you think of food and going back to food that you might associate with romantic connection, we think of things like chocolate and vanilla. And indeed, you can get cocoa absolute, you can get vanilla absolute. Here's some vanilla absolute that I have here from White Lotus Botanicals, which is the place that I source most of my perfumery ingredients from. The thing about absolutes is here I have the jar and I can pour it and nothing comes out like an essential oil would, because absolutes are a lot of times very viscous and sticky, and you have to use different sorts of techniques with these. But just using a little tiny bit in a blend can be really fun. Now, absolutes are not known for their therapeutic benefits in the same way that essential oils are. However, I wouldn't say that means that they have no benefit, because I feel they have emotional benefit. And when it comes to aphrodisiacs, did you know that there's actually studies that say that men will identify vanilla as the sexiest scent when they are presented with different options in a study, which is so interesting. And then there's other gourmands that you can use that you can put into what are called accords. Accords are groups of different absolutes that you put into alcohol and then you let sit for a long time, sometimes years, while they blend together. And then you can build different sorts of natural perfumes off of the combination of accords. Now, when I'm thinking of Valentine's Day, when I'm thinking of romance, when I'm thinking of aphrodisiacs, I'm thinking of the gourmand accords, which are ones that are based off of food sort of smells. So here's a gourmand accord that I made. It has vanilla and white ginger lily. Holy moly, talk about essential floral. White ginger lily absolute and rose absolute. And this one has been melding for many, many years, and it smells like the sexiest vanilla ever. So this can be something to play with. I've got another gourmand accord. Now this one's a little bit different. This one is going to focus more on some of the heavier scents. So I've got coffee absolute, which is a thing, ginger essential oil, allspice essential oil, black pepper essential oil, which black pepper is another aphrodisiac, believe it or not, and then clove essential oil, and tonka bean absolute. So this one is spicy and sweet. It smells like the best homemade baked stuff you can possibly imagine. A warm, cozy house in a cold afternoon and just being able to be at home and happy together. So some of the other ones that I like to include in this group, some of these would be very loosely considered gourmands, this is a tonka bean absolute. It smells like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, actually. Like really, really, really sweet breakfast cereal. If you're wanting to add sweetness to a blend, that is a really great one. And then surprisingly, you can also get tobacco as an absolute. This is from the actual tobacco plant. It's solvent extracted. This is from Eden Botanicals, another place that I'll source some stuff from. And it doesn't smell like cigarette smoke. I just want to be really clear about that, because that's not a very pleasant smell to most of us. Tobacco absolute, it smells like if you've ever had anyone in your family that smokes pipe, like that really gorgeous, sweet, fresh tobacco that gets to go into the pipe and then the pipe sort of smoke. It's not super smoky smelling, it's more the sweetness of the tobacco leaf itself. So that's the gourmands. And those are ones that we're going to really closely associate with romance, maybe more as being aphrodisiacs than some of the others. Then we can move on to a couple of different categories. One is the woods category. And what I want to say about the woods essential oils category is that there are a lot of essential oils out there in the wood family that are highly endangered. One right here is sandalwood. And sandalwood is one of the most endangered trees out there in terms of aromatherapy. So when you use sandalwood, you want to use it really intentionally. You want to use just a little bit. You want to make sure that it's ethically sourced. Sandalwood is amazing for skincare, which is really nice. And it has a mild and more, I don't know how else to describe it, like more of a masculine scent to it. It can be one of those smells that can help to anchor a blend. Another of this family is HWO Wood. HWO Wood, HO Wood. And yes, that's kind of a funny name. This is also in the cinnamon family, but it doesn't smell like cinnamon. Some people say that it smells like rosewood, which is highly, highly endangered and not an essential oil that we want to be using at all anymore because of that. It is so sweet, but you can smell the woodsy smell in it as well. And it has a bit of coolness in the scent, almost like an iris smell that just very, very mild, very light sort of violet notes to it. It is so gorgeous. Nobody has ever said to me that this is an aphrodisiac, by the way. Usually when you look up HWO Wood, it's going to tell you benefits for, you might use it similarly like you would eucalyptus for respiration, antimicrobial sort of things. That is not how I experience HWO Wood at all. I think that HWO Wood is like pure sexiness in a bottle. I will just diffuse this all on its own. To me, it's its own perfume. It's gorgeous and it's not that expensive either. So that would be a really fun one to check out. I get this one from Mountain Rose Herbs. And then another category of essential oils that we might associate with being an aphrodisiac are the root essential oils. So roots grow in the ground. They correspond to our lowest two chakras, which are also corresponding to our sexual health, our sexual wellness, and also at the lowest level, our sense of security and safety, which can sometimes for some of us feel a little bit compromised when it comes to sexuality, especially if we've had any kind of traumatic experience. Now, that's not to say that any essential oil is going to fix those problems for you, but they can help you to feel more grounded into your body and more secure as you are healing through any kind of sexual trauma that you've had, in my opinion. It's just in my opinion. Now, one of these that a lot of people really associate with sensuality, sexuality is patchouli. Patchouli is a root. It smells very, very earthy. Some people even say it smells like body odor. This has been associated with the hippie movement in the 1960s and 70s, so a lot of people dislike it. But one of the things about patchouli that is absolutely true and has been studied is that it's very anxiolytic, meaning that it does help with any kind of anxious or stressed out feelings that you're having. And for so many of us, that is one of the reasons why we don't feel sexy, like why we don't experience a sense of libido or desire, is because we are not feeling secure in some of those basic needs being met in our life in one way, shape, or form. So bringing in some of those roots into your blends when you're talking about aphrodisiacs can really help. Now, a word on these, like something like a patchouli or vetiver, is very unctuous. It's very, you can even see as I'm twisting the bottle, it's sticky. It's like honey almost, and it doesn't always lend itself very well to being in a diffuser. Sometimes those roots can clog up your diffuser. So if you're very picky about your diffuser, if you're really wanting to take care of it perfectly, then you wouldn't want to put those roots in there. Now, personally, I do. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I do. And then I'll clean it up later and I pay for it later, but I really enjoy sometimes the scent of those roots, especially combined with maybe some of the sensual florals in the diffuser. Oh, that is such a luxury diffusing experience and can really help to shift the mood of things in your space if that's what you're looking for. So I hope that these have been helpful so far. The last category that we have is spices, and there is one in particular that I want to camp out on for a little while. First, I'm going to mention cinnamon. So cinnamon is an essential oil we need to be very, very, very careful with. And in fact, a lot of aromatherapists will tell you no dermal application, even diluted, with cinnamon for a variety of reasons. It just has a lot of heat in it. I am not a huge fan of cinnamon, but I know that a lot of people are. And I will say that the cinnamon essential oil is not like cinnamon gum or something like that, like with a fake cinnamon flavor to it. It is soulful and beautiful, and just a tiny bit in a diffuser can really bring out and amplify some of the qualities of the other essential oils that you might be using. So that would be one, or really any sort of spice that you personally find to be warm and cozy or give you the good feels, like perhaps nutmeg, which is also anti-anxiety. It's a little bit sedative. It can help you to calm down and relax. Great, use it. My absolute favorite essential oil for aphrodisiac purposes is cardamom essential oil. And cardamom is an interesting spice because in Ayurveda, it is, most spices are considered to be heating. Cardamom is a spice that is considered to be cooling. It's one of the few that I know of. And so you have this really interesting dichotomy within the scent itself, where it's spicy, but yet it's cooling. It's almost the combination of the yin and yang, or the male and the female principle. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why just even on a subconscious level, we are interpreting it as being very sexy, but it is just very sexy. It's just a very sexy scent. It's sweet, it's cool, yet it's spicy. It smells like the most amazing, like baked sweetbreads or whatever that you can possibly imagine. I love it just on its own. I actually will wear cardamom essential oil just as a perfume. I also really like to combine it with literally anything else that I've mentioned here. It would work with the spices, with essential florals, with the woods, with the roots, and with the gourmands. So there is nothing that I've mentioned today that cardamom won't blend well with. And cardamom has a long history of being a strong aphrodisiac. So that is our aphrodisiac essential oils and aromatics. I hope this was interesting and helpful to you. I hope that it inspires you to go out and maybe explore some scents that you haven't explored before. And if you are curious again about how to use these essential oils, I'll be putting information in the show notes about those 2 introductory essential oil classes so that you feel like you can do that, learn about them and use them safely, but get some fun benefits out of them. So I hope this enhances your Valentine's Day and your romantic connections. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. If you liked this episode, please comment, like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And if you're listening on your podcast app, I always appreciate those 5-star reviews, and I will see you next time.